Hi, this is Renee and I'm coming to you from Vancouver Island, Victoria, British Columbia, and we're located on the southern tip of Vancouver Island, and it is the capital of BC, British Columbia. And what I'd like to share with you today is my communication awareness practice and empathy listening, coaching, and mentoring that I offer here locally in schools, privately with individuals or with couples, or in organizations or corporations or small businesses, and with families. And so let's get started. I'm a Feldenkrais practitioner, and I've been practicing Feldenkrais here on Vancouver Island since 2007, after I graduated. And I also offer that locally and in institutions, in community centers, and also privately with individuals. And I've done an earlier video on Feldenkrais and functional integration, which explains a little bit more about that. But prior to becoming a Feldenkrais practitioner and even my training, I was practicing Dr. Marshall Rosenberg's nonviolent communication. He came to Victoria in 2001, as he was invited to offer communication training in our local legislature. And while he was here, he did public workshops and trainings. And so that's how I became familiar with this communication system. And it's a system of communicating that I found beneficial in my own life, raising my own children and offering it in their local schools. And also delving really deeply into it as a personal practice. I, as you can see, have an altar behind me. I'm a meditator, and I learned to meditate with the Shambhala Center, which is a global organization. And I was on the board, and they had some communication problems. Even though they were long-term meditators, the lack of the ability to communicate without conflict was missing. And so nonviolent communication helped me there as well, because it balances out the debate style that we have come to consider our normal in culture. And it offers equal opportunity for power with versus power over or power under that comes from a debate style of right or wrong, do it my way because I know best style that we grew up with our parents and educators and continue on in our own families and workspaces. So with regards to this style of communication that I offer, it has the filter of Feldenkrais, believe it or not, because I've integrated both at the same time. And with Feldenkrais being based on functional behavior, the communication marries very well together, because it's about behavior as well. It's how we communicate. And for me, having been a practitioner of it since 2001, what's happened is how I think has changed. So the neural pathways of the brain that Feldenkrais focuses on retraining, I believe from my own experience and my own changes, I believe that's what's happened, is choosing to speak differently and process the information based on a particular pattern has changed how I think, because I have an absence of how I used to think. There's a significant change. I run into situations and I go, wow, that used to be my family. That used to be my behavior. And it's just not in my awareness. I'm actually quite surprised when I run into those situations. And I'm thankful, actually, for having focused my time and attention on this new way of communicating, because it has changed my life significantly. I believe one of the reasons is that there was a small core group of us for about 4 years that met once a week, and we would practice communicating. And so there would be a formal style of communication every week. and it would have a different focus. And about 2 years in, we realized that for 2 years we had done nothing but focus on needs that were not being met, which meant the range of emotions of anger, frustration, irritation, anxiety, fear, paranoia, all those feelings that come with unmet needs were our dominant focus. And so it shifted to the celebration of met needs. So all of a sudden, for the first time in my life, I was talking about things like inspiration, joy, happiness. That was just not a part of my vocabulary prior to then. And so it has made a huge change. And bringing that into working with couples and relationships, teaching them how to begin to interpret the hidden messages. It's like being an interpreter to try and understand what the focus point or the intention of what somebody is saying. Generally, we have an opinion on it, or we compare our own thoughts to what somebody is saying or telling us, but we don't actually hear the meaning behind what they're sharing. And so that's the aspect of this communication that I enjoy so much, is that it isn't about what I think. It isn't about how I perceive you or what I think should happen. It's about what you're actually saying and really taking it in. And that's the point of the connection. It doesn't matter whether I agree with you or not. It only matters that I actually hear you. And through this style of communication, I've come to understand that listening with empathy is possibly the greatest gift you could give someone. There is nothing that matches that as a gift. And so that's basically what I do, is I offer that gift of understanding and listening and interpreting what the messages are, to provide people to be seen, to be heard, to be mattered, to connect to themselves and find safety, support, and connection with others. And so 2 ways that I offer it is through education. So I can come into your family, workspace, school, organization, corporation, small business, any type of situation, to teach and mentor. And I can also gear it to any age range, because it's one system. It just is what's the style of learning at that age range. So I work with elders and I work with small children and everything in between. And the other way I offer it is through personal one-on-one. So it's either coaching individuals, couples, families, or I go into workspaces and resolve conflicts. And so it is a wonderful form of change. It's a change agent. And I was quite an activist after the birth of my son, because I wanted to provide a better world for my children. And I struggled because activism was as violent as what they were fighting. And so what I've learned through this style of communication is you can be an inner activist and change that has no violence. And it's quite a different form of activism. And it's something that never goes out of fashion. It never goes out of style. Whereas now, when I look at activism here in my own province, it's about a quarter of the size of what activism was when I first had my son. So it's not a fashionable trend anymore. It's actually has a demeanor about it that people are uncomfortable with. And so it's not tapping into that large majority of society anymore. But I do believe that if we learn how to communicate, it's like we can become inner activists. And so this system of communication goes well with my functional integration and awareness through movement. That is based on somatic education. The two go hand in hand. And so I offer it from that perspective versus from simply just the communication itself, or simply just the somatic movement function. I marry both together in both parts of my practice. So I I enjoy bringing the communication awareness and empathy listening skills into a private functional integration or into an awareness through movement class. So it has that perspective. Or in communication awareness, if it's a private session or a group class, I bring in functional integration behavior. And so it's a whole system of experience. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed my introduction and that you'll come back and enjoy some of my other videos as time goes on. And I hope to see you. Thank you.